All right. Good evening, everybody. How's it going? It's me, Comic Crack. It's Sunday. This is the kind of weekly wrap. Stuff that I've read, a couple of thoughts about some things. This afternoon, we had our Sunday chat. It was over on Ross's channel. It was just me and Rossa there this week. So if you want to go and watch the replay of that, head on over there and watch all that stuff. Hoping to have a few of us next week. Everybody's schedule lines up. Let's just jump right into it. I don't have much else to say, but we will talk about some books. And we're going to start off. Good evening, Gorvidal. How you doing, man? We're going to start off with our, we're going to lay to rest. Ablaze served us well through their lifetime, but I'm afraid Ablaze has now died, and they've served us well, and we're going to remember them fondly. I picked up the Animal Castle hardcover. This was the limited edition signed version of it. The more I kind of sit and think about it, the more irritated I kind of become about the whole thing. So Ablaze, huge fan of Ablaze stuff that they've done so far. They were doing the Cimmerian stuff, or Chimerian, or whatever. Let's piss on Ablaze. Absolutely loading the cannon. I mean, I got to do it on my channel. I did it on Ross's channel. Got to do it here as well. I love old geezers. I love man's skin. I love Animal Castle. So, I mean, none of this has to reflect poorly on the creators that they've had, the books that they've kind of presented to us, these American versions, these Canadian versions, these English versions is what I meant to say, have been fantastic. There's been some really good reading. I've been kind of an advocate for Ablaze for a long time. I've kind of come to terms with the fact that the hardcovers, when they do these collected editions, they're the same, they're the same size of a comic. It's a constant struggle for us over here in North America, looking for kind of the European graphic novel size, or the graphic album size, rather. So I've come to terms with that, and I've supported that. I double dipped on this. I have the single issues. I even bought a couple of variant issues because I like the artwork and I love the book that much. So then I ponied up for this hardcover signed edition, which cost me 115 Canadian. To be full disclosure, I believe it was limited to 250, and this is what I got. This, along with a signed in pencil piece of paper that was inside. No numbering. I guess I thought that it was going to be, because I guess I'm used to places like Fantagraphics. I'm used to places where if they're going to do some sort of limited edition thing, if they're going to do some sort of signed edition, they're going to do something a little fancier. They're going to do something a little more. This looks exactly like the edition that came out, just the regular hardcover collected edition. It just has that included piece of paper. And I think it has this, which is, thankfully, it's not just a sticker on top. That would be icing on the cake. But honestly, I think this is bullshit. I think it's serious fucking bullshit. I mean, at the very least, I would have expected some sort of book plate, definitely something signed in ink, something numbered, something a little fancier. Maybe that's on me. Maybe all of this is on me, but I do feel conned, to be honest. And I'm not impressed whatsoever. So I think going forward, get out of here, fly. Going forward, I just don't think I can support Ablaze books anymore. I just can't do it. I do feel like I understand. I don't understand. I understand when they say things like they don't want to do the graphic album size. I don't like it, but I get it. It's their company. They do whatever the fuck they want. Werewolf by Lunchtime, how the hell are you? But this is kind of too much for me, you know. I sold some stuff. I could have put that money towards, like I was saying to Rasa off air, I could have bought $115 books instead of one hardcover book, right? So I just, the more I sat and thought about it, the more irritated I became. So that's all I'm going to say. They can do whatever they want, but I can't support it any longer. So no more Ablaze on this channel for sure, which is just unfortunate because they were putting out some really incredible stuff. So enough of that. Let's move on to stuff that I enjoyed this week, or at least had a little more positive feelings. I'm going to fire through some of these first ones here. There is quite a stack I read this week. I'm going to kind of fire through the ones that I talked about on the chat. I've talked Reed Fleming a million times. This is issue number 7. This was late 90s, I think 97. Love it. The thing that surprised me about this stuff this time, reading some Reed Fleming, especially this is stuff that I haven't read previously. The pace was outstanding. The speed at which the jokes came, the movement through the panels. The first page alone has like about 4 or 5 different gags on it that kind of last a panel. There's this energy through all of it that I really, really enjoy. And it is legitimately funny. The illustration or the drawings are amazing. I would say that it's not kind of in the prime, Boswell's prime when he was doing the earlier Reed Fleming stuff, but it is still really damn good. If you want to check out the Deep Sea Comics website, I encourage you all, as Jared Osborne was reminding us today, there is a hardcover collection of Reed Fleming. That's something that I may double dip in, just the regular edition though, not the signed version. And that might be something that I pick up at some point. Love Reed Fleming. I found a couple of issues of Mary Fleener's Slut Burger at one of the shops, which is really surprising to me. It's not a comic that I see around at all. I've had the first issue for quite a while from Ripoff Press. I picked up number 2 and 4 from Drawn and Quarterly. And I'd read earlier in the week from Colin's channel, he had picked up Ray Zone Presents Hoodoo by Mary Fleener, the sort of magazine-sized issue. I'd read this and then found these the other day. And it turns out this piece that she had worked on, I believe it was her first painting, ended up tattooed on this gentleman's back. Now, in the interior of this one, she talked about this guy appearing in International Tattoo Art, I think is what it was. I have some old tattoo magazines. I was sure that I had this issue at some point. I looked. I don't have it anymore. That would have been good to have pulled that as well too. So just him talking about getting this piece on his back. It's his entire back. Mary Fleener is amazing. It's really good stuff. It's really good storytelling. She kind of talks about a whole variety of things in these 2 issues. I kind of read them back to back. They flowed really nicely. Let's see if I can find it this time. One of the things she talks about with her art is kind of holding back on some of the kind of cubist type of style that she has. And she gets some really encouraging letters from some other comics creators like Daniel Clowes, like Trina Robbins, just talking about how much they love her style. And Clowes was saying that he hopes that she would keep that kind of crazy style for like really extreme moments. And it seems like she sort of took his advice. But what I like about the style itself is its ability to show kind of what looks like multiple frames in one frame. Yeah, this is riveting. I know. As I sit and look down at a page, I can't find this panel for the life of me. I don't know where I even saw it. But anyway, we'll take a look at her art here. Hello, Damien. There's this ability with some of the way that she breaks up a panel that it makes it appear like there's multiple panels or multiple kind of camera shots within one frame. And I love that idea. I love the idea of kind of having this wide shot, a close up, and an over the shoulder happening in one panel. Here's some of the kind of examples of it there. So that's her and her ex doing it. She's great. I really like it. I want some more of her stuff. As I'd said to Colin back then, I don't have enough Mary Fleener. She was kind of a staple in all the anthologies that I was reading in the 90s. She would always appear. And I really should revisit some of the drawn and quarterly anthologies that I have, like Centrifugal, Bumble Puppy, I think was one of them. I can't remember some of the other ones, but I'm sure she's all over those as well. Zone Continuum, issue number 1. Like I said, these first few will be rapid fire since they're on Ross's channel already. This one, I don't know what the hell this story was about. I can't get a handle on it whatsoever, but I'm just so fascinated by this art. I think it's really amazing looking stuff. The creator here is Bruce Zick. Let's get those credits in. So this is yet another Calibre Press's. This is from 1992. Calibre Press is when that's from. Another surprising pickup from me for Calibre. I no longer think that Calibre was one thing. I'm now fully realizing that they really were jumping in a bunch of different eras. I mean, look at these drawings of his suit that he's donning. I think he rides light waves. I think he can perceive light waves and interact with them. And he has to always live at a certain elevation above the city. We get this beautiful page here. I don't know why. I don't know what he's hunting. I don't know what the hell the point of this is. But man, oh man, did I love flipping through this page by page. But I have absolutely no fucking idea what this story is. I think this first one was 2 issues. And then I think there was a kind of Zone Continuum Volume 2 as well. It's really amazing looking stuff. Yeah, and I'm fascinated by it. I've seen this cover a million times and I've always passed it up. And this time when it jumped out of the bin at me, I figured I couldn't put it off any longer. I showed this one on Ross's channel today as well too. Very, very unique style. I can't say it reminds me of much of anything, but it looks fantastic. Yeah, it really is fascinating there, Gore Vidal. And then we get kind of the interior rather of their lair. Our main character kind of gets injured, and then when he interacts with humans, it starts to drain his energy. So they have to get him back, or if he spends too much time on lower elevations, he has to get back up higher. So he kind of puts him over his shoulder, our human character, and brings him back up into his lair so he can be kind of healed back to his full power. And then at the end, we also get an incredible pinup. Like, that's a poster there, man. Really great. Just nice textures on the gloves, nice textures on the fabric, the way all the wrinkles and the folds are, like, to an extreme. Yeah, and that hand over here, that hand way back there, and this foot probably about a mile away. This guy's probably about 27 feet tall because that foot is like 2 blocks behind him. Really, really great as he's kind of diving down or falling towards us from the top of the skyscraper. It's beautiful. So I'm very, very curious about this creator and this book. I haven't looked him up yet to see what else he's done, but I love what I've seen so far. On one of the books that didn't really do much for me this week, 2 more before we get to stuff I haven't talked about. This was Warp Walking, another one from Calibre Press. I think this is a 3-issue series by creator, story and art by Mark Ricketts. And this is from 1991 as well. So it feels like maybe there was a sweet spot for some of these more unusual Calibre Press books. This one sort of caught my attention. I liked this first page spread, especially when you started doing a little Where's Waldo with it. You could see the deterioration You could see the rats. You could see these little flying demons and things. And you just see what you're kind of maybe going to meet. And then you're met with this page with a whole bunch of text. And right out of the gate, my mother died today. There's an azure crack in the sidewalk where she landed. She was a blue widow. She wore the color of those ladies whose husbands died for art. Daddy was murdered in a performance piece, so Mom and I could receive a cash allotment from the Arts Council. So the first paragraph, it had my interest, but it is just so much dialogue in this, or it's so much kind of text rather, so much narration, and it's telling us stuff that I'd rather see. It wasn't really adding anything to it. It wasn't really adding anything to the story, and it started getting really fucking dull. I liked some of the ideas on the first couple of pages for sure, but as it kind of went further, even like these kind of an aside, it's demons mixed with humans on Earth. That's sort of, I don't know if it's post-apocalyptic, but it's definitely apocalyptic. People are putting themselves in positions to die making art. Is one of the kind of things that they're working on here. There's this filmmaker who's making a movie, and our main character's pregnant girlfriend has volunteered to play a part. She's gonna die on set basically, and he wants to stop it. And it just kind of goes from there. It's bizarre, but we have these little things here. A demon just kind of waxing philosophical and setting himself on fire on the side of the road there. So it has these moments where I feel like, pardon me, I feel like there could be something interesting going on. Here's his girlfriend here drowning in a giant kind of martini glass that he's going to save. But it just doesn't hit it. So at about the halfway point, I kind of just stopped reading all of the text. I sort of kept to just the comic pages and read through those, but it really lost my interest pretty damn quick. And again, I feel like there's something that they're trying to do here, or this creator's trying to do. I just feel like there's a little too much Mobius and Jodorowsky influence, and then being filtered in a way that's so not interesting. I know that not everybody is a Jodorowsky fan, but I happen to love the guy. I think he's kind of a genius level filmmaker. Hello, Gratu Orloff. How are you? All this creative output in these independent books you show weekly. So much work and yet left unknown by the general public. Absolutely. Part of the joy of digging through these dollar bins. So this one lost my interest. I did end up flipping through and just kind of having a look, but pardon me, I won't be digging further for any of those, I don't think, unless I find them for like 50 cents. Then I may, just out of morbid curiosity, just to see what happens with that book. And finally, for the ones that I spoke about this afternoon, before we get into the new ones, this was a great find. Charles Vess, The Book of Ballads and Sagas. This is issue number 1. Now, I believe that this publisher, Green Man Press, I think this was Charles Vess's own publishing company for a very short time. This is from, does it say a year in here? It does not say a year. No, it doesn't. It just gives some credits. There's a number of things I like about this. I think that the standard is going to be that if you're like me and you like the Jim Henson Storyteller, if you like the Norse mythology, this has a feel similar to those books. Yeah, that is a Vess's company. Okay, great. Thanks, Colin. It has a very similar feel to those books. These folk tales that are then getting presented in kind of a comic form. This Thomas the Rhymer was my favorite out of all of the stories. Our main character finding an elf queen that he kind of goes and stays with for 7 years. And at the end of the 7 years, she's going to grant him this wisdom by eating a piece of fruit, and he'll become kind of, what do they call him? A seer, a seeker. Second sight. He has the gift of second sight from the fairies, not elves. Sorry, fairies. Mid-90s. Yeah, that sounds about right to me too, Colin. And he finds that he's pining for this fairy queen, and at the end of his life, they get reunited. It's a beautiful, short little story, and made all the more impressive by Vess's incredible artwork that sort of changes a little bit throughout the story. We get some stuff that's a little sharper, and then some things that they look a little softer, like this page here, for example, has a little more kind of soft texture to it, as opposed to kind of crisp line work and things. So really nice stuff. The other thing that impresses me about this that I didn't mention this afternoon is, let's see if we can find a kind of clean, it might not show up so well on camera. Yeah, it probably won't at all. His lettering, I'm not exactly sure how he's doing his lettering. It feels like it looks like everything is kind of bubble letters with a white space in between. So I don't know. I'd be surprised if he's literally drawing these bubble letters for all of the text in the book. Who knows? Maybe there's some tool that he's using that kind of gives you those 2 points with a space in the middle so you can kind of make those marks. But it's a very unique style. It's beautiful. This is a beautiful book. I think it was collected as well to these issues. My hope is that it is some sort of like magazine-sized graphic novel, as opposed to comic size. I'm hoping it's a little bit oversized, because this would be beautiful to see just that little bit bigger, I think. So a really nice surprise. I'd never seen this before. I don't think I've heard of it, although this title seems very familiar to me. Scade. Probably butchering that pronunciation, but deal with it. Way to go, Ablaze. Beautiful stuff. Absolutely on the hunt for more of this. There was one other lettering thing here too that I found really impressive. I love this Yarg. I think is gorgeous. Really gorgeous stuff. Real kind of nice energy. And it feels like when you see stuff like this, it almost feels like you can visualize the artist kind of frantically working with some sort of tool. Like it feels like that's like almost like a calligraphy pen with some edges kind of gouged, some bits gouged out of it to give that kind of rough line, and that uneven kind of tails on the letters and things like that, you know. So beautiful book. Beautiful. Onto the stuff that I didn't talk about on Rasa's channel. One that we'll start off with, the one that kind of surprised me the most in how much I liked it. This is Wave Makers issue number 1. This is, yeah, and is kind of lost to the ages, not even unnoticed, but is kind of lost to the ages, that these bins you often see, or at least I do when I go looking and hunting in 50-cent and dollar bins. You end up seeing a lot of the same stuff in these bins that nobody is buying, nobody is picking up. So they're just forever left in this kind of not garbage, but not in anybody's collection. They just end up traveling in the same box all over the place, and nobody really giving these books a second look. So this is Blind Bat Press from Hamilton, Ontario. And this was an incredible little anthology. I was very impressed with this. I didn't know, it looked promising when I got it from Lone Star and had kind of a flip through. It was way more entertaining than I thought it was going to be. This first story was probably one of my favorites. Earl Geyer, Geier, is the creator of this first story, the artist and writer of this first story. It has sort of a Corbin boy and his dog Vic and Blood. Is that what it is? It has that kind of feel to it. It feels like it could take place in that same world. There are even tiny bits of, it has a feel of a Herman's Jeremiah, but it also has a tiny bit of Corbin in there as well too. So it feels like it has a good base, especially some of those faces here. That really reminds me of Herman's Jeremiah. This panel there, the shadow and just the look on her face. I don't want to kind of talk too much about the story because there is a bit of a twist in it. But it's clear that this isn't a pleasant world that they're a part of these days, where they're kind of fighting every single day just to get food and water, as they hang kind of thieves and people in the town square as a warning to everybody else. It has a very underground comics feel as well too, because it's a little bit oversized. It's not your standard comic size book. And then we get some stuff that kind of looks like this, so a little bit rougher. So it feels like there is a polish, but it's just not there every single time, which also, honestly, I love that about it. I love these pages or these panels as well too. All the use of the black on there. Middle Class Fantasies comic I showed on my channel. A wonderful story about a woman visited by a scuba diver. Beautiful story from the mid-70s. Just thinking about it enchants me. Yes. So we get that story. What else was in here that kind of jumped out at me? Let me just flip through. Let's see. We get sort of a superhero tale in here as well too. Didn't really stand out much for me, but other than it seemed a little out of place in this book, because I think this is the only one in here that's kind of this pseudo superhero story. So it felt kind of not quite fitting in with the rest of the book, but I admire the fact that they're trying different things in here. There was another one here. There's quite a few stories in it. Yeah, this one was great. There was this one was pretty damn good. There's also a Matt Howarth story. So I think this one sort of had a Howarth vibe to it, with these sirens kind of going off. Just a nice little sort of silent story as it slowly drives our main character insane, and he jumps out the window to attack the vehicles themselves. And kind of the end of the gag is it's someone playing guitar in the back of an ambulance. Kind of just a fun little blip there. And then we get the Matt Howarth story, Drug Run, which is really, really good. It's a first part, I guess, that this comic was going to go for a number of issues. I don't remember how many it went, but it feels like this is going to be that continuing story throughout the series. This was great. There's definitely Howarth in this, but it also doesn't quite feel like him. It feels like it's still him figuring out his style before it's kind of fully solidified. Did I say a year on this one? 1991 is the year on this book. So yeah, really great. Well worth picking up. There's an artist in here that is from Saskatoon. The comic is from Hamilton, Ontario. So very, very Canadian-centric book, this one. Beautiful stuff. Well worth picking up if you see it. Like I said, I got it from Lone Star, so I'm sure you can bookmark it there. Another one I had fun with, this one from Oasis Comics. And Colin knows this one because I saw it on his channel. This is Future Beat. Oh man, 64-page special. I haven't watched many of his videos lately. I know he does shorts. I see the shorts that he posts, but I don't watch nearly as much as I used to of his. I should get back into it. This was classic. You know, no big surprises here. The cover is unbelievable. My favorite thing about the book. But honestly, the interiors, especially this first kind of I don't know, roughneck cop story, dirty cop story, looking for revenge. It just really felt like a classic. This is from 1986, by the way, The Sweet Spot. it just really felt like a classic kind of Clint Eastwood Death Wish type of movie put to paper with some really great, almost like mystery style of line work there. But check that out. That's a great image of her there. Really, really fantastic stuff. This page was one of my favorites. Is he's, what does he say? You got a warrant, cop? Could you read it if I did? Why you? And then gets punched in the gut, and his face basically just grabbed and slammed into a wall as he slumps to the floor. So really great stuff. So the strange thing about this one is our second story is heavy. Oh, before we get to the second story, though, we do get the cop with water on his face, breathing heavy, figuring out how he's going to fuck a motherfucker up. Then all of a sudden it jumps to a pretty intense sci-fi story where basically a whole squad of people from planet Earth are in this spaceship from all these different cultures, and they're getting the fuck out of the universe. We've, you know, the usual, we've killed the planet, we must evacuate. But it's a very odd mix with this first story. I do love the work here, though. I really like the artwork on this one, especially the details on the ship that they kind of refer to a number of times in the story. I can't tell you too much about what the story was, other than this kid and his father. He's getting told a little bit about the history and how they got to where they are on this ship. And then we're just kind of getting introduced to the society that they're a part of now. The church plays a big part, and there's sort of like this, he's sort of like a cult type leader of this group here. So we're getting kind of, again, it feels like it's something that in their heart of hearts, they wanted to make, like, you know, a 50 issue kind of epic. And this is kind of that very first intro to the world, but pretty impressive book all around, this one here. Whispers and Shadows, we've talked about that before. Coming soon, Whispers and Shadows #8. Yeah, so that was a pretty fun read. One that I've had around for a little while, this fly that continues to buzz. One that I've had for a little while from Slave Labor that I finally sat down and read was Bloodlust, issue #1. Again, one of those books that the cover drew me in. I was sold by this cover. It is a vampire tale. It is kind of different, almost like mafia groups of vampires that are going to have this. It's leading up to what's going to be a huge battle, is what it feels like. So this is from 1990, written by Dan Vado, illustrated by Alex Shakeman. There's your credits there. Additional inks and tones by Mick Gray. And then cover colors by Ken something or other, Ken H. So not too bad, not too great. It was good enough, though, that I do want to kind of continue with it and see where this goes. There was enough here that kind of got my interest, and the style is all over the place. That expression on that punk rocker's face leaves something to be desired, but at the same time is pretty amazing as well. Yeah, it's a damn good cover there, Gore. It's a really great cover. So yeah, nothing really to write home about. It was a fun enough read. It didn't blow me away, but it's on the list to kind of hunt for more. Because again, it feels like it's the kind of book where there's going to be these moments. Sometimes with these books, you just get these moments where some sort of something happens and you get a couple of pages that are just incredible, either with the layout or all of a sudden the story hits kind of a real peak. This is one of those pages for me. I love this page here. I love the kind of shadow that he's casting is also a vampire drinking, I'm assuming, blood as he bathes in blood, and there's bodies floating in it. I love that page quite a bit. Really, really nice stuff. So yeah, I'll be keeping an eye out for that one. I feel like I've heard people talk about it in the past. I don't remember if it was you, Colin, or who it was, but I feel like, or maybe it was an AFPC book. I won't talk about these too much. Sky Zero and Sky Forecast. These are two books that had some Ashley Dust in it. The one I did want to kind of point out, though, was this Knights Roundtable, because the Ashley Dust in here is the continuation from the 4-issue miniseries. So this does take place after that. So it is kind of a part of what would have eventually been the 5th issue. And it's really great because, again, it continues the trajectory that she was on when we left her in issue number 4. The kind of great thing about this book is that the way her character kind of changes by the end of those 4 issues, and you really get the sense that something isn't right with her, you know what I mean? So this kind of keeps exploring that a little bit more, just giving you a little bit more. And again, McCollum's pages are just busy as all hell, but I really love his style. The thing that he does a little bit different in here is he has a few pages, like, look at this guy here. That's incredible looking stuff. This demon that's looks like he's disintegrating in front of our eyes, and that background and everything. One of the things he ends up doing at the end of this story is giving us a bunch of pages with silhouettes that I think are very effective with his text. So we sort of creep into it there, and then we're met with this, which is a beautiful looking page as they're seeing these black meteors coming to Earth with sort of their Kirby crackle-ish surrounding them. And then we get another one at the end here. So a really nice surprise. Nice that I thought it was going to be kind of a standalone story that didn't have anything to do with the series. So I'm glad to see that this is kind of a continuation. So for those 1 or 2 other people, Russ Works, if you don't know about this one, if you've got the other issues, this is the one to pick up. Knights Roundtable issue number 1. I think there might have only been one of those. I don't think they did anymore. But yeah, worth grabbing if you don't have it already. Another one, not much to talk about other than it was a total blast. I did end up taking a set of the 3D Cthulhu hand. Luke, how the hell are you, man? I did end up taking the 3D glasses out of it because why the hell not? These books are meant to be enjoyed. So this is Brain Bat 3D. And this is 1992, published by the 3D Zone. And I don't know if Gratu is still around. I can't remember if it was you, Gratu Orloff, or who it was that had mentioned XNO in one of the streams. I can't remember if it was you, but the artist XNO, or who signs XNO, does a bunch of stuff in here, and it's just single page 3D splashes, and there's an homage basically to Basil Wolverton. One of the things that I love about this too is Roy Tompkins is in here from Trailer Trash fame, who I'm a huge fan of. The 3D in here was incredible. It looked really nice. It had a really nice effect, and again, especially this bit more oversized. The other 3D comics that I have are just the smaller format, that comic format. So it was nice to get a 3D book that was a little more oversized to help that stuff jump off the page even more. So super fun. Not much else other than that to say about it. Just a nice kind of art book, I guess. So that's a Brain Bat 3D. Just 2 more books to talk about tonight. And they were both pretty great. Maybe we'll end with that one. I didn't know what to expect with this Tales from the Outer Boroughs, but on a flip through, when I first grabbed it, I don't think I knew how enjoyable this was going to be. This is presented kind of like comic strips, like daily or Sunday comic strips, but there's a continuing story that goes through the whole thing. And it's sort of, actually, I've got a couple more comics to talk about after these ones. So maybe 4 more comics. They all sort of, there's this kind of running story throughout the whole thing. I should say creator here. Written and illustrated by Douglas Michael. Front cover painting by Wayne Crowell. And this is from 1991 from Fantagraphics Books. There's this little bit of absurdity. There's definitely some black comedy going on here. One of the characters is, it's this husband and wife. It's this couple, and the husband is suicidal, and they just have these very unusual moments together. And one of the moments, she sees someone coming to the neighborhood who she's never seen before. She talks to her husband about, like, are you going to do that here? You should really take that to the garage so you don't make a mess. And then when he leaves to go to the garage, she starts having fantasies about this stranger in the neighborhood, and taking some time to herself, let's say. If you're going to make a mess, go to the garage, basically. So this poor bastard who just spends the entire book with the barrel of this gun in his mouth, never actually pulling the trigger. It's an unusual, it's an odd book, but there's quite a bit here that was pretty, I don't know, it made for a pretty good read in sort of this Lynchian kind of landscape, I guess, for lack of a better expression. I don't know how many issues this one ran, but it's on the list to keep going with this one. Very curious where this one will end up. So that's Tales from the Outer Boroughs. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's issue number 1. Yes, volume 1, issue 1, it even says. One that I know Colin picked up as well on his last Lone Star order. I'm curious if he read it. New England Gothic, 2-issue series from Visigoth Studios. Another one that was a really nice surprise, but it was also, this is from 1986 as well, but it was also another one that had, it was very, very text heavy, and then some illustrations to go along with it. This was really fun. I'd actually like to see kind of a 6 or 8 issue miniseries of this. I feel like there's something here to explore. One of our main characters is, okay, he's a deceased butler, and he's kind of our storyteller for this first issue, as we kind of continue generations into that family's lineage, where we get our kind of cover character here that comes back to this castle, I guess, to kind of take up not quite battles, but kind of take up the mantle of being, I don't even know, he's not quite a vampire. There's all sorts of things happening in here. There's vampires, there's witches, there's ghosts, but part of it is all the people, all the inhabitants of this castle that are dead. He can see them all, him and this woman that he's met on the road going back to his kind of family home. It's a really, I'm doing a horrible job describing it, but it's really kind of good. There's a little bit of, I don't know, there's a little bit of Neil Gaiman type of vibes in here, but it also has this almost, at times it almost feels like it has this young adult kind of gothic, I don't know, trench coat brigade type of storytelling to it. That's horrible. That doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. What I'm trying to say, I guess, is I liked it. I kind of liked it a lot, to be honest. There was something that it had going for it that I just can't quite put my finger on. I do love the drawings with it, even though they're all very, very static. Surprisingly, the text itself isn't that hard to read once you get into it. It flows really nicely. It doesn't feel overly descriptive. It feels very complimentary to what's going on. It feels like it's, again, it feels like it's a way Neil Gaiman might use narration, you know, where it is complementing the story that's going on and not taking away from it. And we do get these kind of really nice drawings. I love all these little kind of ghosts and demons that end up popping up in the background of places. So I like it. It's got a real charming kind of quality to it. It only lasted these 2 issues, which is unfortunate because, like I said, give me another 4 to kind of let them further develop. Because I do feel like by the time you hit the end of the 2nd issue, they've really sort of started to find their feet. That if they had a few more, I feel like it could have developed into something pretty impressive here. So here's the 2nd issue. I'll just show you a couple of pages from it. See if we can find some standouts. That's pretty nice. And I do like the way even they break up the pages with the illustrations and things too. I think works pretty well. Yeah, this is nice too. This witch takes them down to these caves. There's something happening in these caves that's affecting the real world, and they have to kind of go and explore, but she can only go so far. And they start talking about she started to fade into the rocks. And I love those 2 pictures there. And then we get our William Hope Hodgson pig people in these in the depths of the earth here. So yeah, they find these sort of gems that are dripping, and they're dripping into this pool, and that's creating all these extreme weather patterns that are happening in the real world. So they have to kind of collect these gems. So it has this kind of fantasy element mixed with this horror, mixed with vampires and witches and ghosts and goblins and all sorts of. In this one, we get some aliens as well too that have crash landed. So it really just throws all of these things into one kind of bucket. So yeah, surprisingly good read on that one. I don't know if you're still here, Gore Vidal. I hope you are, because maybe you can give some backstory to these 2 books, these final 2 that we'll talk about. Let me move those out of the way. So in the box of underground comics that I bought recently, there was a bunch of stuff from Piranha Press, specifically Beautiful Stories for Ugly Children. There was this 1 issue of Arnold, Confessions of a Blood Junkie. And then there was 11 issues of Beautiful Stories for Ugly Children, the series itself there. And I read the first 2. And I don't know what I'm missing. I do feel like I'm missing something, why this exists, what the backstory is. Is every single issue. I almost feel like this could be a precursor to things like Ice Cream Man and Ha Ha. I feel like it sort of potentially lives in that sort of same world as those one-off oddity kind of horror stories. Again, it's another book that is filled. I don't know what happened this week. I didn't do this on purpose. That's filled with text and then some illustration. So again, like an illustrated little bit of a novel here, novella. From what I've looked at only a few of them. From what I've looked at, they're all standalone issues. There doesn't seem to be a running thread of a story. This one is focused around clowns. I didn't find this one too engaging, to be honest. I think clowns are overused and ridiculous, and I don't know. I just don't know. I get nothing out of the use of clowns in this kind of way. The only time that clowns have ever worked for me is Butthole Surfers, Locust Abortion Technician, and that's because it's Gibby Haynes' dad that did the painting for that cover. That's the only time that clowns have given me any sort of sense of what the fuck. The second issue, however, The Dead Johnson's Big Incredible Day, I loved this issue. I thought this was great. I still don't know what I'm reading. I don't know where this has come from, but it's a couple that are dead, and we kind of go through their life, or we go through their few days until they finally meet God near the end of the story. And God tells them that they got to brace themselves, because he's about to send a flood down to wipe out humanity. But he wants the dead Johnsons to survive, to kind of repopulate the earth. So as we kind of lead up to that, we get to see things like the dead Johnsons having the neighbors over for a barbecue. And we get Mr. Johnson laid out on the ground by the grill. Get them just kind of hanging out together, watching some TV and having a little bit of a conversation. They also have a dog that's dead. They go bowling. So it's every single page is almost like this gag, but the story that gets tagged along with it is very kind of just matter of fact. Thursday was bowling and French dip sandwiches. Having survived the week, the dead Johnsons decided a treat was in order. Donning their casual sportswear, what Clyde called their fun clothes, they made a list on a clean paper towel of things they might do, including a picnic and a visit to Ant World. So it's just very matter of fact, and I love it. Stories for Augie the Sharon is like Ice Cream Man. The clown stories are wonderful. I think there are 3 of them. Okay, yes, standalone. Dead Johnsons was great. Yeah, this was the highlight for me so far. I've only read the first 2 issues, but I'm sold. After the second issue, I was sold. The first one, not as much, but I think this one is strangely funny. And I just love the drawings that go along with the page. So, yeah, an absolute highlight. And then here we are with God kind of coming down to visit them and kind of tell them what's up. And again, like looking at those pages, they do look intimidating, but again, this flows so nicely. It's not a chore to read this whatsoever. It really feels like all of the storytelling flows and the images just kind of accentuate everything that's going around. So there's also one about either mice or some kind of rodent who commit mass suicide after each generation, but 2 of the kids don't want to do it. Interesting. Very intriguing stuff. I'll just kind of show you quickly the covers. There's issue number 3, and they're all by Dave and Dan here. Dave Lopre and Dan Sweetman. And what year do we have here? We have 1989. So as Jared was telling us this afternoon, Piranha Press was an offshoot of DC Comics, I believe is what he said. I remember the character Gregory being in Piranha Press. I've seen a bit of Piranha Press. I want to say I have a mini comic. Is it Let Me Out of Here? Is that part of Piranha Press or is that something else? There's that cover. It's issue number 7. Yeah, I mean, it's really, yeah, it's good writing. Hey, and I can totally see that by the second issue. There's one about the Devil's Diary. That sounds intriguing as well, too. So I was going to sell these off, but I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I'm keeping these suckers. These are staying with me. And I'm going to kind of dig into the rest of them. I know there was quite a few issues after this, but I only have, in this box, there was only the first 11. So, well, not only just the first 11. That's a pretty hefty dose of these books. So I will be digging into those, maybe read 1 a week or something. Very curious what's coming next, though, for sure. I will absolutely keep you posted. So with that, the final, A Darker Vertigo, copy that. The final order of business is that box of Underground Comics. I've sold a bunch locally. I've sold some to people online. I've still got some left. I'm probably going to post a separate video where I flip through them, just kind of show the covers in the bag with the price and kind of open it up to anybody who might want to pick up any of these things. Before I kind of, I do want to sell them. They do have to go. The prices are pretty low. I'm kind of keeping them on the lower side. I'm not looking to make any money off of these books. I'm just looking to break even on the purchase that I had. So I'll be doing that here on YouTube, Cthulhu Hand Luke. So I don't know if that's going to be a live stream where I kind of show them off and people comment, or if I just post a video showing everything and people can leave comments or can email me in that video. I'll probably do, I'll probably put one of my email addresses, not my main one of the ones that's associated with this account. that if it then gets spammed to death, it won't even matter because I barely look at it. So I'm thinking I'm going to try that. Shipping obviously will be dependent on where you live and how much you buy. I do tend to pack things pretty tight, or I at least try to. I try to pack things very tightly, so it's as cheap as possible that I can send them. So I'm going to try it out. I've never really done anything like that on YouTube before. So we'll see, because there's quite a few interest in underground comics still there. Yeah, I mean, there's some really good stuff. So I'll probably end up doing that. I don't know. I might even do that tonight. Just do a video where I show it all and then post it. So feel free to, if you know how to get a hold of me already, if there's something in that video you see that you want, shoot me an email, shoot me a message on Twitter, however it works best for you. And then we'll work something out. And it'll be the kind of thing that first come, first serve. I won't be holding things for anybody. It'll just be paying by PayPal, or if you're here in Canada, you can do an e-transfer right to my bank account, and we can sort it out like that. Yeah, so that's it for this week. Thanks very much, everybody. It was good to see you. Cthulhu Han Luke, always good to see you. Gore Vidal, it's always a pleasure to see you. I'm glad you were here for that ugly stories, or beautiful stories, rather, for ugly children. Colin, always good to see you as well. Damien, thanks for stopping by. And Gratu Orloff, great to see you as well. Werewolf by Lunchtime, we miss you on our live chats on Sundays. We will talk to you all soon. Take it easy.